So here's a quick China update, and also Jerome Powell is going to be live at 1 p.m. Eastern time, and I want to make sure that you guys are prepared for it. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. As many of you guys have been seeing, the NASDAQ market has already made a recovery from the lows that it had on Friday, and that was after the news came out that there was some uncertainty about an agreement between the US and China. This was when it was brought up that Trump stated that the Chinese government has pretty much broken the promise that they originally made based off of that agreement. Now, markets quickly recovered from that sell-off into the close. It doesn't really surprise us. Markets have been super irrational for no reason. Very similar setup happened today. Markets pumped up for no reason. They corrected themselves and then are now back at the same previous highs. Now, this comes moments after it was announced that global stocks fell after Beijing denied violating the recent trade truce, struck with Washington, pushing back against President Trump, pushing back between President Trump's accusation from last week. Beijing said that the U.S. was the one that had seriously undermined the truths. It alleged that Washington had introduced multiple discriminatory and restrictive measures, such as export control guidelines for AI chips and revoking visas for Chinese students. So supposedly, Treasury Secretary Bessent is saying that they were confident that Trump and Chinese leader Xi would soon talk about this problem and everything will be ironed out. Supposedly, this is supposed to happen this week. If they do show signs of progress, then yes, markets can recover. But I want to remind you how the United States has not been able to get any country to sign an agreement. That is not an opinion, it's a fact. So if you think that they're going to be able to figure out a deal with China, one of the most powerful countries in the world, when they weren't able to do it with any other country, in my opinion, I just don't have high hopes. But again, we're all entitled to our own opinion. So again, feel free to share what you think. So this is the big uncertainty that I think is bound to present itself this week. Markets began to recover solely on the idea that things were getting better between the trade war between China and the US. And based off of recent talk, there is no progress. If anything, it's more certainty that there's tensions between China and the US once again. The other thing that I think you guys should be aware of is that Jerome Powell is supposed to be speaking today. And for those that do not know, Powell will be speaking at the Federal Reserve Board's International Finance Division, the 75th anniversary conference in Washington, which is at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. The opening remarks will be by Powell and can be watched live on the US Fed website. So you can go to federalreserve.gov and you should be able to watch the live stream there if you want to. This comes after just a few days last week where Powell went to the White House. He was invited by Trump, and the meeting's agenda, according to a statement of Powell, was to discuss economic developments, including for growth, employment, and inflation. Supposedly, there was no talk about actually cutting interest rates. And this will be very important to pay attention to because remember, everyone is waiting for the Federal Reserve to start cutting interest rates. And the US is running out of time. They're getting very desperate where they need the Federal Reserve to start cutting interest rates. But Jerome Powell has made it very clear that he will not cut interest rates until economic data supports it. And supposedly, inflation is still going down. So again, also the PCE report that just came out last week, it's one of the Federal Reserve's favorite measure of inflation, also came in a little bit lower than what was expected. So based off of the Fed rate monitor tool, which is again a way to be able to look at probabilities based off of current expectation, there is a very small probability that the Federal Reserve is going to cut. But again, we'll learn a little bit more about this if he's hawkish or dovish in his live speech today. I just want to make sure that you're aware of it. So in about 30 minutes from when I upload this video, he will go live and you will most likely see markets potentially change direction. I want you to be aware of this, not change direction. I'm sorry. Possibly be a little bit more volatile. We don't know. I don't know if it's going to be bullish or bearish. I just want you to know that within 30 minutes, markets will be more volatile. And if you don't want to be open to that kind of risk, then maybe close out whatever trade it is that you are currently open with. So just my 2 cents. Want to make sure that you guys, if you guys made money, you lock it in or reduce your position size if you don't want to have that type of exposure to risk out there. So I wish you guys nothing but the best. Hope to see you for tomorrow's live trading session. And if you want to tune on in, second link in the description down below. Like always, let's make sure that we end the year on a green note. Take care, team.